4. Many people believe holding on is a sign of love, but true strength is knowing when to release what no longer serves you. A woman who can walk away from disrespect, uncertainty, and inconsistency demonstrates self-worth. Men often expect someone to chase, persuade, or wait forever. When a woman confidently lets go and continues living her life, she creates a powerful impression. Her absence speaks louder than endless arguments or emotional pleading. Strength is attractive because it communicates confidence, independence, and emotional maturity. A woman who values herself enough to walk away shows that her happiness does not depend on anyone else's validation. This kind of self-respect is unforgettable. Long after she leaves, her confidence remains in his mind because she chose peace over desperation. Letting go is not giving up on love. It is choosing yourself. The woman who understands this becomes impossible to replace because she teaches others how valuable she truly is through her. 4. Actions rather than her words. Many women believe that holding on longer will somehow convince someone to value them more. They stay available, keep giving chances, and continue investing emotional energy even when the relationship is no longer healthy. What they often fail to realize is that true strength is not found in endlessly holding on. Real strength appears when a woman recognizes her worth and decides that her peace, dignity, and self-respect are more important than remaining in a situation that constantly drains her. A woman who lets go is not acting out of anger or revenge. She is making a decision based on self-respect and emotional maturity. When a woman stops chasing, stops explaining herself repeatedly, and stops begging for attention, she sends a powerful message without speaking a single word. Her actions communicate that she knows her value. She understands that love should never require someone to sacrifice their identity or settle for less than they deserve. This key. 4. Ninth of confidence often leaves a lasting impression because it is unexpected. Many people assume they will always have access to someone who cares deeply about them. When that person finally walks away, the reality of their absence becomes impossible to ignore. A woman who lets go chooses growth over attachment. She focuses on her goals, her happiness, and her future rather than waiting for someone else to change. She invests her energy into becoming stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. Instead of allowing rejection to define her, she uses it as motivation to become the best version of herself. Her confidence grows because she no longer depends on external validation. She understands that her worth was never determined by another person's ability to recognize it. That level of self-belief creates a presence that is memorable and difficult to replace. The strength she displays through walking away often becomes the very reason she remains unforgettable in someone's mind long after she is. 4. S. Gone. Absence has a way of revealing truths that presence often hides. When someone is always available, always giving, and always trying to maintain connection, their value can become invisible to the other person. But the moment they step back and remove themselves from the situation, everything begins to shift. Silence replaces constant communication, and distance replaces emotional convenience. In that space, the mind starts to reflect differently. Small details that were once ignored begin to surface with clarity, and the memory of what was taken for granted becomes more noticeable. When a woman lets go and creates distance, she is no longer part of the daily routine that someone used to rely on without thinking. The comfort of her presence is suddenly missing, and that missing space becomes uncomfortable. It is in that discomfort where realization begins to form. The things she used to do, the support she used to give, and the emotional stability she provided are no longer I am. 4. Editally accessible. This shift forces comparison, even if it is unspoken. What was once ordinary starts to feel valuable only after it is gone. Absence also removes emotional noise. Without constant interaction, there are fewer distractions to avoid deeper thoughts. The mind begins to replay moments, conversations, and gestures that were previously overlooked. Regret and appreciation often emerge in the same space, creating inner conflict that cannot easily be ignored. It becomes clear that her presence carried more weight than was understood at the time. The realization does not come from persuasion or explanation, but from experience and silence itself. In that quiet distance, understanding grows slowly and naturally, not through words, but through the emptiness left behind, where familiarity once existed, and now nothing responds the same way anymore. Self-respect is one of the most powerful forms of attraction, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people think that love is proven through all patience, tolerance, and constant forgiveness, even when boundaries are being crossed. But real emotional strength is shown when a woman decides that she will no longer accept behavior that reduces her value. The moment she chooses dignity over attachment, everything about her presence changes. She is no longer trying to convince someone to treat her right. Instead, she is demonstrating that she requires it as a standard. When a woman sets clear boundaries and follows through with them, she communicates something deeper than words ever could. She is showing that her emotions are not available for misuse and her time is not something to be wasted. This level of clarity often forces others to reevaluate how they behave around her. It is no longer about what she can tolerate, but about what she refuses to accept. That shift creates respect, even from those who may not have given it before. Walking away from disrespect is not about pride or ego, it is about preserving self-worth. Woman who values herself understands that staying in situations where she is not appreciated slowly weakens her spirit. So she chooses to step back, not to punish anyone, but to protect her own emotional well-being. That decision alone carries a quiet power that cannot be ignored. It shows emotional intelligence, maturity, and confidence. Over time, this self-respect becomes unforgettable. People may forget arguments, excuses, or explanations, but they rarely forget someone who knew when to leave. The image of a woman who stood firm in her value and refused to settle leaves a lasting mark in the mind. That kind of strength does not demand attention, yet it naturally commands it because it reflects a level of self-awareness that is rare and deeply respected. Growth often begins at the exact moment comfort ends. When a relationship continues without challenge, reflection is limited and patterns tend to repeat without change. But when a woman decides to let go, something shifts internal. Like for both people involved, it creates a pause that cannot be filled with routine conversations or familiar habits. That pause becomes a mirror, forcing a deeper look at actions, choices, and emotional responsibility. For many men, separation becomes the first time they fully recognize the impact of what they had. While the relationship was active, there may have been assumptions that her presence would always remain constant. But once she is gone, those assumptions break. The absence reveals not only what was lost, but also what was taken for granted. This realization can lead to emotional discomfort, but within that discomfort lies the beginning of personal development. A woman's decision to walk away often marks a turning point. She is no longer available to absorb confusion, inconsistency, or emotional immaturity. Instead of staying in cycles that drain her, she chooses to invest in her own healing and progress. This shift forces the other person to confront their own behavior without relying on her patience as a safety net. It becomes clear that growth cannot happen when accountability is avoided. Over time, distance creates perspective. What once felt normal begins to look different under reflection. Mistakes become more visible, and lessons that were ignored during comfort become unavoidable in silence. In many cases, this is where real transformation begins, not through arguments or advice, but through the lived reality of loss. The absence of someone meaningful becomes the catalyst that pushes change, maturity, and emotional awareness forward in a way that presence alone never could. Independence carries a quiet kind of attraction that does not need attention to be noticed. A woman who builds her own life, develops her own goals, and creates her own stability stands in a different kind of power. She is not waiting to be completed by someone else, and she is not shaping her identity around a relationship. Instead, she is already whole on her own, and any connection she enters becomes a choice rather than a necessity. When a woman reaches the point where she can let go and continue moving forward without falling apart, it reveals a deep level of emotional strength. She does not pause her life waiting for clarity from someone else. She keeps building, learning, and evolving. This creates a presence that naturally draws respect because it shows purpose beyond attachment. People are often drawn to those who have direction because direction signals confidence and stability. Independence also changes the dynamic of love itself. Instead of chasing validation, she offers companionship from a place of fullness. She is not asking to be completed, she is simply choosing to share her journey with someone who aligns with her values. This makes her energy different. It is calm, grounded, and self-assured rather than desperate or uncertain. That difference is often felt more than it is explained. Over time, this level of independence becomes Dia, or epically memorable. It shows that her happiness does not depend on being chosen, but on choosing herself first. That mindset leaves a strong impression because it breaks the expectation that love is about dependence. Instead, it reflects freedom, self-respect, and clarity. A woman like this does not lose her identity in relationships. She strengthens it, and that strength becomes one of the most attractive qualities anyone can witness. Moving forward is often the final and most powerful stage of emotional strength. It is where pain is no longer allowed to define direction, and the past is no longer given control over the future. A woman who chooses to move on does not carry bitterness as a permanent weight. Instead, she processes what happened, learns from it, and allows herself to grow beyond it. This ability to continue forward is what transforms heartbreak into wisdom. When she lets go and refuses to stay stuck in what no longer serves her, she breaks the emotional cycle that keeps man. Or why people trapped? There is no constant revisiting of old wounds, no repeated questioning of what could have been done differently. Instead, there is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean forgetting, it means understanding that what is done cannot be changed. Only what comes next can be shaped. This mindset creates space for healing, and healing creates strength. As she moves forward, her energy begins to shift. She becomes focused on rebuilding her life, rediscovering her purpose, and reconnecting with her own happiness. This process is not always easy, but it is powerful because it is intentional. Every step forward becomes a statement that her life is not paused by loss. She continues to evolve even when others expect her to remain emotionally stuck. Over time, this forward movement becomes her greatest form of impact. People remember those who did not stay broken. They remember those who transform pain into progress. A woman who chooses herself again and again becomes unforgettable. Or bleed not because she held on, but because she had the courage to let go and still rise. Her strength is not in what she endured, but in how she continued beyond it, creating a future that is no longer defined by what she lost, but by what she built after it.